Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to go over a few drip system details. Dad will tell you why he likes to use drip systems and some details, some tips and tricks. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
All right. So we use drip tape. What I use is 15 mil thick drip tape, and emitters are 8 inches on center. And buy it in, I think it's like a 4,000 foot roll is what I get it in. And so it's really cheap. And so here we've got just a manifold here, and that feeds, this is where the water comes in right here, and this hits a pressure regulator down to 10 psi.
What's that other thing?
And then this is the filter system, and you can just unscrew that and clean the filter and screw it back on. So then it goes down here, water here.
How many psi regulator did you say?
10 psi.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I've got a manifold that runs all the way across this end of the garden here, and comes down here to the main pathway. Here we've got the main line coming through here, and then there's a manifold running this way, and then another one running on this side of the main path.
And by manifold you mean this is a 10 psi leg?
Yeah, this is a 10 psi leg.
It's a bigger size?
It's 3/4 inches all, and it's just like regular, just poly pipe. It's nothing special.
Oh, okay.
Just regular poly pipe, and then you just punch in the these little valves here. Kind of uncovered here. This little valve here, you just kind of get kind of stiff like that, and turn it on and turn it off.
Why do you want a valve?
That way you can just control your water. If you're trying to germinate, you want to give maybe a little more water or whatever. You can just control it, or if you want, some crops take more water than others. So like this is the bean section here, and these are spaced 2 feet apart. That's really tight. I wouldn't go any closer than that.
For beans?
Yeah, because we plant beans on either side of this drip tape. And so you got to have room to kind of get in between there and pick the bush beans. And over on this side, this is corn, and that's the same. It's 2 feet on center, the drip lines, and the corn is planted on either side of each one of those tapes.
So it's like in a zigzag, alternating?
Yeah, you plant one, like if you plant a seed here and another one here, then you put the one over here. So it's kind of a triangle here. Mm-hmm. Gives the roots the largest area to work. And so you just, 9 to 10 inches apart this way, and then just
for corn?
About 5-6 inches on either side of the drip tape for corn. Mm-hmm. And then we come down here, and there's potatoes in here, and these are 30 inches apart. These drip lines here, these are 30 inches apart, and they all have their valves just like the others, but I don't use them too much. I don't depend on these for potatoes, for the watering. I use the overhead for the potatoes.
Like this here?
Yeah, the drips just don't get the water spread far enough for the potatoes. And then on all the standard beds that are 4 feet wide, these are about 12 inches apart, these drip lines, and seems to work good for a 4-foot bed. Gives you room to plant on either side of each drip line, and like all of them, I have valves on everything. Just much easier to custom tailor your watering to each crop. Some things take more water than others. So, and so that manifold runs all the way down here, and all these little valves are just punched into it. You have a little punch that makes a little clean hole in this 3/4 inch line right here, and then you just stick that in the hole, and then I guess probably should get one of those valves and just put how to put the tape together.
Sure, we can demonstrate that.
So let's see. Well, here, let's just do one right here. This one's may be easy enough to do. So here's a little nut that you turn to pull these things off, and so that's how it comes off.
So that's just a barbed fitting there?
Yeah, it's kind of a barbed fitting, so you just slide that on there, and you kind of wiggle it back and forth, put it all the way in there, and then you just turn this collar, and that locks it on that barbed fitting, and that's it. And that's how you attach the drip tape to the valve.
I just noticed that you have this thing right here. What is that?
Here?
That staple.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Can you pull that out? What is it?
It's just a landscape staple.
Okay, and why do you use this?
And that just keeps the drip tapes from blowing all around in the wind and during the year. So I staple them down maybe every 4 feet along the line.
Yeah, you don't really want to. You want a drip system, not a trip system.
Yeah.
A garden drip system.
It can be really messy if you don't have it stapled down, because the wind comes along and just blows them all everywhere, and it just looks like a spaghetti factory. Yeah.
And staples are cheap too.
Yeah.
That's a very
So
good
I think
idea.
that's.
Oh, Dad, one other question. Just so people know, you put the emitters on the top side, correct?
Oh yeah, correct. Yeah, the emitters. You see that little tiny hole, little pink colored. That's the emitter, and you always leave that on the top side. If you had it on the bottom, then if there's any kind of sediment in the line, it would tend to plug up the hole.
Mineral buildup or dirt or anything in your.
So you always leave that on top.
Leave the drip hole on the top.
Yep.
Are these, what spacing are the emitters on this specific?
These are all 8-inch spacing on everything that I use. And
why do you like an 8-inch spacing?
well, I would go 6 inch if I could, but it's hard to find. So I just go with the closest that I can get.
So 10 PSI, that's 1/2 inch drip?
I think it's called 5/8.
5/8 drip,
Yeah.
8-inch spacing.
Yeah, 15 mil thickness.
15 mil thickness.
Yeah.
The thinner stuff you don't like because it.
It's just doesn't last.
Yeah.
It's just really flimsy. You have to use more staples,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't hold up good. Yeah. And if it takes one little tiny bite out of it, it's done.
It's toast.
Yeah.
Can you explain and show how you terminate the ends of a drip run?
Oh yeah, that's a good. Let me see. Maybe down over here we can. So at each end of the drip tape, we fold these things over. So like this is just the end of the tape, and you're just putting these things in the garden for the first time. You just fold it like that.
Like a Z?
Yeah. You need to have at least 2 points that are bent. Like here's one bend and here's the other bend. You need 2 points, otherwise it'll leak too much. And you just kind of pinch them together.
You cup it into a U shape kind of?
Yeah, and just kind of pinch it together.
What's the other piece you're putting on?
And this is another piece of the drip tube.
The same stuff?
Same stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, they make fancy little end termination fittings you can buy, but they cost a lot, and just use this. It doesn't cost anything. And
keep it simple and cheap.
Yeah. So and this is really cold and hard to do right now, but when it's hot, it's a lot easier. So you just slide it on like that, put it back down.
How you terminate the end and put your staple.
Put the staple in there. You're
done.
Good to go. Very easy.
Pretty simple.
And very cheap. Another reason why I like to use drip tape is like overheads. Every time the water droplet hits the ground, it just packs the dirt and it compacts your soil. So with the drip line, it's just seeping and going in really slow, and keeps your soil more aerated. You don't have it packed so hard with overhead sprinkling.
And another benefit obviously is weeds, right? Weed
weeds.
control.
Yeah, you're not watering everything. You're just watering right where the roots of the plant are.
Oh, this is not weeds. This is lettuce, folks.
Yeah, that's all lettuce.
This is volunteer lettuce. That's for spring lettuce.
Yeah.
And then Dad leaves that in there to come up in the spring, so it's
there'll be a
free
lot
lettuce.
more in the spring coming up, and so yeah, it works really good, and it's well worth the money and time. to put it in. So, is there anything else you can think of that?
Well, I just about ran into this windmill back here, so I wouldn't be thinking if I hit that. I'd be thinking about something else real quick. What about sizing the GPMs on the regulator? Is there different gallons per minute regulators that you
There's
can buy?
only 2 different sizes that I know of in that type of pressure regulator, and it's either, I can't remember what the gallonage is on them, but there's a lower flow and then there's a higher one, and I use the higher one because I can water this whole garden at once with that one little tiny regulator.
Okay.
So if you have a smaller garden, you could certainly get by with the smaller regulator.
Isn't there higher PSI regulators too? You don't want to make a mistake and buy the wrong one.
This drip tape is made for 10 PSI, and so you don't want to get anything higher than that. They have them all the way up to, whatever, 40, 50 PSI, but just get the 10 PSI, and that's good.
How do you calculate how long to water when you're using the drip system?
Oh, you can't. There's no rule for that, because depending on how what your temperatures are, your humidity.
Well, how do you tell when to shut it off? Or do you have it on a timer, or how do you do?
No, I just let it run for a while. You kind of get a feel for if it takes. It might take a couple hours. It might take 1 hour. But just put your finger in the ground in the dirt and see how wet it is, and you can kind of tell,
okay,
if it needs more, if it needs less. There's no set time that you'll water it. It's because here we get really hot temperatures in the summertime, triple digit, and so we have to water more often.
And that's one of the reasons you have those valves at the beginning of each line, right? Do you regulate the flow a little bit with those, or is
No,
it
I
just
don't.
to shut off in case you don't have any crop there?
Yeah, like in the springtime, you're going to be planting lettuce maybe first, or cilantro or something like that. And so you don't want to water the whole garden. You want to just water the row of lettuce and the row of, cilantro, and just whatever you're putting in. And
So
then
you don't use those to regulate flow then?
No, don't use them to regulate the flow. And then in the fall, when you're pulling the stuff out of the garden, shutting the garden down, then you still got a few rows of something in there. You can keep those running and shut all the rest off. So it just helps conserve water.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I hope all of you enjoyed that walkthrough in the drip system, all the tips, the tricks, the information that Dad gave as far as what's the best practice and how he does things. Hope you found it useful. If you have any comments to add, put it down below in the comment section. And please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And remember,